Riker, you didn't answer me. Who sent you here to look for me?
Your mother.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Fully Functional, a TNG podcast. I'm Maggie, joined by Jeff and Dory. We will be going on a journey through Star Trek The Next Generation, episode by episode, with two nerds and a noob. Today we'll be talking about episode 21 of season 1, called The Arsenal of Freedom. Original air date April 9th, 1988. And as always, we'll start off with a recap from Dory.
Okay, so the gang that were...
You sound excited.
This is not my favorite episode. Can you tell? So apparently there's a cruiser, the USS Drake, that's disappeared. The captain is Captain Paul Rice, who Riker knew. He went to the academy with him, and we learned that Riker was actually offered the USS Drake, and he turned it down to be on the Enterprise. And when he says this, it's like I thought it would be more advantageous. He looks at Picard, smoldering. I was like, oh wow, okay.
Jean-Will is in full effect.
Yeah, we know why you wanted to be on the Enterprise.
Oh man, I totally missed that.
So they arrive, they're at Minos. Minos? I don't know, whatever.
I think they say Minos.
Yeah,
Minos?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna pronounce things wrong as usual. And they can't detect any life forms, so the away team, which is Riker, Yar, and Data, go down, and they appear once again, to Maggie's point from last episode, on a planet where there's no life forms, where they don't know why the people disappeared, but they've come down with no protection, no anything, and there's a bunch of random smoke in the forest or whatever, the jungle, and I'm like, oh wow. Maggie, since you mentioned that, this is like on my brain now. Yeah. I'm like, you guys, you need like a helmet, I don't know, some kind of respirator.
Yeah.
Like, look at all that gas, like all that smoke shit. I mean, they've been really going hard on the, what's it called? The dry ice these last couple episodes.
Definitely.
Somebody accidentally ordered too much.
Yeah. I love how their idea of heavily forested is some overgrown houseplants.
Yeah, a sparse forest with lots of smoke. Okay, so they're on the planet. There's like, out of nowhere, the creepiest thing. So Captain Rice appears, and I don't know if this is just because I just watched the new Netflix documentary Night Stalker about Richard Ramirez, but I was like, oh, this man looks like Richard Ramirez a little bit. I'm getting some real like serial killer creepy vibes from this guy. Yeah. And this exchange is so freaking weird, but honestly, I don't think I've ever liked Riker more than in this exchange. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was real endearing. I liked it. There's so like this Riker knows something's weird with this conversation, and so he does not give. He gives like the Star Trek version of a "your mama" joke almost, where he's like, "Who sent you?" and he's like, "Your mom."
When I was reading the backstory for this episode, it described. I read the backstory before I get into actually watching it, and it says that Riker gets an opportunity for a good joke, and then it describes the USS Lollipop line, and I'm like, that's not a good joke.
I liked it.
I liked that. I liked it.
Yeah, but it's not a good joke.
No, it's not. I don't even think it's a joke. I think it's just funny.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
So, they realize that Captain Rice is actually just a hologram from this, like, little floating machine thing.
That looks like it's from War of the Worlds in the 1950s.
It kind of reminded me of, I think it's the Jetsons.
Oh, God.
Where there's like that I think he's the villain or something. Maybe it's just I'm thinking of his head. I don't know. That's what popped into my head when I was watching the show.
I don't remember the show that well, but it definitely looks like something that would be from the Jetsons.
Yeah. It's an ugly design. And so the machine thing puts like Riker in a big ass bubble, and he just is frozen, and they're like, oh no, is he alive? We don't know.
And then he literally becomes a Ken doll.
Yeah. All of the dreams coming true. No,
He
I'm kidding.
becomes what he is.
And so that makes Picard and Dr. Crusher come down, and they leave Geordie in charge, in which, oh, Geordie, good job, bud.
Captain Geordie.
I was so happy for him. So they come down, immediately shit goes bad with Crusher and Picard, and the machine things are like getting smarter, and they evolve and shit, and then they like fight. They attack, and everybody goes running around, and Picard and Crusher fall into a hole, in which Picard is fine, but Dr. Crusher is like wounded in 1,000 different ways and somehow covered in a bunch of dirt. I don't know, that was sort of weird. Yeah, most of their thing, they're just like in there. I wasn't as like psyched about that as I thought I would be of like their scenes together. Wasn't as good as I was anticipating.
It looked like it was gonna have more of like the Jean Bev stuff than it did.
They actually planned to do that, and it was nixed by Gene Roddenberry, who was like, nope, not allowing that to happen, not at all. Yeah, he didn't like relationships on the show.
Oh, I guess he was a Jean-Will. He was a Jean-Will shipper. But yeah, it was kind of a bummer. I don't know, seeing them in like an enclosed space, and it was not, I don't know, I didn't find it that interesting. But then, yeah, honestly, the planet stuff was like, meh. So yeah, they're basically just like Data, Yar, and Riker are just like running around. Oh yeah, they freed Riker from the bubble. They're running around just like fighting these things, the machine things. And back on the Enterprise, we've got Geordie. Oh boy. So one of these machine things is like invisible in space, and it's like shooting at the ship. And this guy, Mr. Logan, comes up and he's like, I should be in charge. And Geordie's like, fuck you. I'm in charge. And Logan's like, no, well, I've got the experience. And Geordie's like, well, I was the one who was left in charge, bitch. Go sit back down. And so Geordie is like, honestly, he's stepped up, and he had to make some hard decisions. And he decides, you know what, we can't like sustain the shooting that we're getting over here. So we need to like piece out somewhere safe so we can regroup. And so he does one of my favorite things in the entire show is they separate the saucer and the bottom. I was so happy. I was like, it's so beautiful.
I'm sure you won't see it again for many seasons.
But now I know, I didn't realize that they were like the battle section was the bottom. But I suppose if you think about it, that makes sense, because that's where like the, what's it called? The fast, the
engines?
I don't know what the terminal. Yeah, I guess the things at the back that
they're called nacelles.
Okay, yeah, those things.
Yeah.
So I guess that makes sense. But yeah, so they separate, and then Geordie's like, hey, Mr. Logan, you're being an asshole. And you think you can take charge? No, you can have command of the saucer while I go actually save everybody. So Geordie gets to have a real cool moment of like coming up with some plan to get rid of that invisible machine and then be able to transport everybody back up. Then in the fucking cave, Picard, they have that salesman guy who is terrible. And from the start, this is honestly such a thing that only a woman would recommend. They'd be like, well, how do we divert the power? And then coming up trying to be like, oh, how do we fix this? How do we fix this? And then Picard's like, Data, what are our options? Then Beverly, fucking dying of blood loss, is like, what if you shut it off? And I'm like, truly? Only a woman would be like, just shut it down.
Have you tried turning it off and on again?
A man would be like, well, how do we change it there or do that or this? Like, just the easiest
Turn
thing.
it off.
Turn it off. I was like, oh my God, this is why Beverly is the greatest. Because she's literally like trying to stay conscious and like bleeding. She looks like she's got a broken leg, a broken arm, and she's like, turn it off, you idiots. And it's like, oh my God, Beverly. And yeah, so they turn it off, of course. I honestly would have thought that like turning off the thing there would have turned off the thing in space, but I guess not. So yeah, they're finally able to like, because all the stuff has been turned off and Geordie beat the space machine, they can bring the away team back, and everything's back. But the cutest part at the end, Geordie's like, I'll give you back command, Captain. And he's like, no, I want my ship back to how it was when I gave it to you. So basically you be the captain until we're connected. And I was like, that's so fucking cute. Yay for Geordie. Yeah.
Go Captain Geordie.
This episode is it's kind of a bummer. We went from like last episode, which I really enjoyed, to this one, which is like
kind of stupid.
Not
Yeah.
my favorite. Yeah.
I have to admit that I completely misremembered this episode. I actually kind of liked it.
Yeah, me
Like,
too.
the main thing I always remembered from this episode was the salesman guy, which I just fucking hate him a lot. And for some reason in my brain, I always think that that's like most of the episode, or like that they deal with him more than they actually do. But yeah, I thought like, yeah, the stuff on the planet was like whatever, but I thought the Geordie stuff was really good.
Yeah, I
Oh
agree.
yeah, no, that was great. That was really why I'm like, man, on the episode is that the Geordie stuff is great, but the planet stuff, I was like, I
don't really care.
yeah,
Yeah, I really like the bits that they had with Geordie, where it shows him taking command, and we get to
Yeah.
see like how competent of an officer he is. We get to see like how he is in a leadership role and all that kind of stuff. It's really cool.
yeah. I also really liked how Troy, she comes in to talk to him, and he's like, yeah, I'm nervous, and she's like, yeah, I know, but you're killing it. Just like maybe be encouraged. Like encourage the other guys because they're like kind of stressed.
Yeah.
And so I was like, that's actually really nice that she wasn't like, Geordie, you need to like do this or like calm down or whatever. She's like, no, Geordie, you're fucking killing it.
Yeah.
Good job, bro. Like you're doing a great job.
We get a lot of reaction shots of Deanna in this episode.
Yeah, I noticed that. It was a little weird.
Yeah. It almost looks like it. Like I'm pretty sure they were different shots, but it looks like they just reused the same shot.
Yes,
she's just making
yes,
the
it
same
definitely
face.
does.
Although I did think it was a clever little twist where she walks into the office to talk to Geordie, and you think, because of the shots they've been using, you think that she has concerns about him.
Yeah.
Like she thinks he's
Compromised.
he's
or,
not he's not handling it well or whatever. And then she's like, you know, 2 of your crew members, you need to encourage them more and be a better leader because they're struggling.
Yes, I think the positive aspect of all of that is you see several times they kind of like do a fake out where it looks like Geordie's about to like give up or something. Mm-hmm. Especially when he calls on the brand new chief engineer.
Yep.
Yeah, Mr. Logan.
Because, you know, we have our 4th one of the season, I think.
Yeah.
And he's not paying a courtesy call. Why do they give him so many one-liners in this? Anyway,
I don't know.
But yeah, so when he calls him up and then it like cuts to commercial and you think like, oh man, he's about to give up. But then Logan gets there and even though he still seems timid for a moment, he's like, nope, I'm not giving up. Here's what I'm making you do.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really, really enjoyed that.
Yeah, well, they do that great scene where just everything's going to shit, and they focus on Geordie, and it looks like he's like overwhelmed and panicking.
Yeah, it looks like he's about to crack. But it's entirely just because of how they shoot it. It's not how he's displaying it.
Yeah, definitely. But I really do like the way they shot that.
Yeah, me too.
I love when Geordie puts Logan in his place.
Yeah, that guy deserved it.
Yeah, and I have a beef with that Logan guy because at first he's like, "Listen, we have to leave or we'll be destroyed. Like you're being foolish by staying here longer." And then once Geordie like actually leaves, he's like, "I can't believe you left them on the planet." Like which fucking is it, dude?
It's whatever Geordie is doing. It's the opposite of that. Because he just has to be contrarian for the sake of the script.
Yeah, I guess that's it.
Also, I don't know. In what universe would the engineer be under command of the ship over other officers?
About that,
Is that a thing?
Scotty was very often put in command of the ship back in TOS, and he was the chief engineer.
But he was like integral to the plot though. Like wasn't he like a main-ish, like he was like part of the team?
Well, yeah, but he's still the one down there in engineering. He's not on the bridge unless they're leaving the ship and they're like, Scotty, you're in charge. And he's just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, but we know, like, you guys would have known him, right?
He's
Yeah.
a
He
main
He would have
character.
appeared in the other episode. Yeah. Logan, we've met for the first time. Why would the fuck would they put him in charge?
Okay, let's be perfectly fair here. What you asked me was, in what universe would they put the chief engineer in charge? And
Sorry.
I told you.
Yes, I should have framed it in like this sort of situation.
Yeah, in what universe would they put, random Mick, brand new character on the bridge to command the ship? Yes,
Yeah.
in absolutely none.
Plus, like, if the it was so frustrating because the captain said, Geordie, you're in charge. And this guy's like, I think I should be in charge. And it's like, go fuck yourself, Logan.
They got a couple of
Nobody
one-shot
asked you.
characters in this.
Nobody asked you.
Yeah, because his logic was that he has a higher rank, which is true.
Bigger than you, I'm
But-
higher in the food chain.
Yeah. Although I think there's probably someone higher rank than him because, like,
He's only a lieutenant. There has to be another lieutenant commander on there somewhere.
Yeah, that's my point. Because he had 2 pips. Wait, so what's the difference? It's like, because Geordie's a lieutenant also, but he has 1 pip and 1, like, empty pip.
Lieutenant junior grade.
Oh, okay, yeah, so I guess Logan was a full lieutenant.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, got it.
It's kind of funny, popped into my head. It's like Wesley might have more experience being in charge than Logan.
That's sad but true. Yeah, why didn't they call it Wesley? Instead they had, like, Ensign One Shot there talking to Geordie the whole time.
Oh yeah, there was no Wesley in this corner.
No,
Yeah,
There was no
we've seen
Wesley in
the
this
last couple
episode.
episodes.
in this corner, no Wesley.
Well, I was thinking of Dory's boy corner.
Oh, God.
Yes, fair. So what do you think? Does Captain Rice go in the boy corner with his weird skin?
No,
No?
because boy corner is just whenever somebody calls Wesley the boy.
Yeah.
Or boy. It's
The
not
boy?
like, every man in this needs to be. No, it's just that. That's what the boy corner is.
Perfect.
But yeah, Rice was creepy as hell.
Yeah. that
But in
was
fairness,
not
he was
comfortable.
supposed to be.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's true.
though, honestly, when Riker was explaining, like, what kind of reputation this guy had, when we saw what Rice looked like, I was kind of surprised.
Yeah, me too. He kind of looks like the kind of person that would, like, rat you out for, like, taking an extra chicken finger at lunch or something like that.
Yeah, I just didn't picture him to look like that. I don't know. I wasn't picturing anything specific, but I was just surprised to be like, oh, this is Rice.
I mean, it was
This
the
is
80s,
guy who's,
everyone
like,
looked
top of the
different.
class.
Yeah.
I do think it says a lot about Riker that he wanted to, he instead of like taking command, he wanted to be what is it? I was at first man.
First officer.
First officer. I knew it was
Yeah.
first something. Wants to be Picard's first man. His first officer. Because
Yeah.
I guess it's like a learning experience versus just like jumping in.
That kind of becomes like a little bit of a theme throughout the series of why Riker like keeps turning down commands and why he like chooses to stay as the first officer of the Enterprise.
He's already turned down, is it 1 or 2 commands?
Oh, at this point I'm not sure. We've learned about definitely 1, and I think
This might be the second one they've mentioned.
yeah, it might be 2 at this point.
Oh, yes, because there was the one where they were offering Picard to move on, and they were going to say Riker would take control of the ship. So there's 1 at least.
Oh, right, yeah.
That was just like a couple episodes ago.
Yeah.
Oh, was it the school one where he's like, that guy was like, come be the head of the school?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. But would that have outright, like, they don't say, oh, when Riker will take over.
No, they did mention it at one point.
They did?
Yes,
okay,
they
I
did.
have no recollection
It
of
was
that, but-
basically a throwaway line, but it did stand out to me, and I remember not commenting on it, but like it wasn't a conscious decision not to comment on it. It was like, oh okay, there's that.
Okay. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think I don't remember, obviously. Yeah, I like that he wants to learn. Good
Yeah.
for you, Riker.
Yeah.
A tiny bit of dimension, like two degrees of dimension.
So while we're talking about continuity, this is one that I'm not gonna reveal any spoilers for Dory's sake, but for people who are familiar with Star Trek, you will or you may remember that Beverly Crusher has a grandmother that she mentions quite fondly in this episode. This is the first time that she's mentioned. And they do go back to that plot point in several seasons. And oh boy, do they ever go back to it.
Oh, because, yeah, Picard's like, oh, did she survive the tragedy? And I'm like, bitch, what tragedy? How do you ask that question, not explain what the fuck's happening?
Oh, you'll find out much more about her grandmother.
I didn't mind that, because to me that was just like kind of a little bit of like universe building, where he's like, oh, you're from this colony? Like, oh man, that was like a real disaster what happened. I can't believe you went through that.
I mean, the way that Beverly described it kind of explains it, I think.
Yeah, like me personally, I didn't find like I was fine with them not explaining it, because like the characters wouldn't.
That's true, they wouldn't.
That's fair.
Yeah, no, I get why they wouldn't do it, but I want to know what the tragedy was.
Here, have some context.
I don't know if because I know they go back to the grandmother storyline in a very weird way, but I don't know if they ever explain what happened to the colony.
I'll be perfectly honest, I have not been able to bring myself to rewatch that episode in at least a decade, so I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I saw it.
I did for a second. I was like, when Dr. Crusher was like fainting, basically like, yeah, I guess fainting-ish, and I was like, oh shit, if she dies, is this like the start of Wesley's like villain origin story? Like Picard is is semi-responsible for like both of his parents' deaths. That'd be so bad.
So the original plan for that entire scene was actually for Picard to be injured, and that was where the romance thing was going to come in, because Beverly was going to be like, caring for him, and oh, it's so romantic, blah blah blah.
It's the rule. I think I've mentioned this before. It's the rule. If somebody is, or maybe I did this in a different conversation. I don't remember. But like, yeah, it's the law that like if a man is injured, a woman has to tend to his injuries and they inevitably kiss.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the law. It's TV law, movie law.
There is a TNG episode about that trope at one point, and I'm not going to tell you any more than that, but it is actually a really good idea. But you'll see when we get to it. But anyway, the main issue that they ended up having once they decided to like reverse the roles on the two of them and make Beverly the injured one, they were like, oh well, let's make Picard the fish out of water character. Is they didn't really know what to do with it when they were limited in what they could do in terms of a relationship between the two of them. So it's like mildly awkward for Picard at one moment, but other than that, it's not really all that important, except for the point when he literally walks away from her to go explore the cave and is like, hey, stay awake, that's an order. And you're like, she was literally just falling asleep. Maybe you should stay there another 5 minutes.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, I can't believe Gene Roddenberry didn't like relationships on the show. It's like you've already teased this relationship so much.
Beverly.
This would have been the perfect time for something to develop, especially when he's like, oh, there's a lot I don't know about you, and she's like, yep. I was like, okay, now share, bitch. Like,
that was the hint too. That was as close as they were allowed to go without him like standing in there and being like, no.
Yeah.
Ugh. Like, it's such a missed opportunity. Like, this would have been a really good time for like some deep conversation, but instead Picard's like, I need to explore this shitty cave.
Well, good news. The audience at the time also thought it was a missed opportunity.
Yeah, because then we also had how much time listening to that stupid salesman guy talk.
Yeah.
I was like, that's so much time.
The thing is like, you don't even need to get them together. It's like, just have them connect on a more personal level.
Exactly.
They just have to have like a deep, meaningful conversation. Ugh, give us tension. I love tension.
I will still give them credit because I felt like the action in this episode was mostly pretty well executed, and that did provide a good amount of tension. But the slowdown moments with Picard and Crusher, I think, almost dragged the episode down a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, because I wanted to see where it would go, and there was no payoff.
Yeah, because nothing that interesting happened in there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, outside, you have Riker, and Data jumping around like kids at a playground. Although how funny when Data throws Yar.
Yes, I noticed that when the stunt actor throws the other one, and I'm like, oh, that's gotta hurt.
And they turn into three completely different people.
Yeah, I actually paused it and went back, and I was like, no way, I did not. Was that real? Yeah, that was kind of great.
Yep.
But yeah, there's like a lot of action there, a lot of action up on the ship, and then it's just like nothing's happening in the cave.
I think they could have even if you didn't want to go into like the romantic area of things, you could have definitely played up more the kind of danger of her injuries and stuff, and like like Picard having to do more and more things to keep her like alive and stuff like that. Also, okay, I know this is like the romantic part, but big opportunity when she's like, and you have to keep me warm. I thought he was gonna like hug her or something.
Yeah, that body heat trope.
Yeah.
There's so many things they could have done. Yeah, it's so frustrating because it was just the ultimate missed opportunity. Yeah, the body heat trope was like right there. We're looking at it, and she's like, "I need to be kept warm," and he's like, I'm
gonna go look around."
Yeah,
he didn't even like. There was a big pile of like moss beside her, and I'm like, you could have covered her in the moss or the sand to like keep the body heat in or something. Even if you don't want to go the body heat trope.
They may have actually wanted to go in that direction, but a little more tidbit of backstory. That sand was infested with fleas, and they had major problems working in it.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
So give the actors credit, because I did not even guess that.
Yeah.
No,
gross.
Crusher was you could not tell.
Mm-hmm.
I
She
know.
was so good. Oh my god. That's awful.
Yep.
That's got to be like some kind of like actors union.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they didn't
safety.
mean for it to be infested with fleas, but sets are gross.
Yeah. But I mean, like, maybe change the sand or something.
No, that would be
or
stupid.
Check
That'd be a waste
the
of money.
sand.
Yeah.
Like, check it or something.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot to talk about with this episode.
I mean, it's an anti-nuke story in the end.
Yeah, they get into that whole, like, oh, they destroyed themselves with their own weapons and that kind of shit, but they don't even dig too deeply into that.
They didn't at all. They barely explored it. They just kind of lay it down like, yep, this is something everybody accepts is just a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Mutually assured destruction.
There's a lot of missed opportunities in this episode.
Like Voyager, where potential goes to die.
Yeah. Like, I think the only thing that they really explored, well, was the Geordie stuff with his character.
Yeah.
Which was technically a B-plot.
Yeah. And I like that it sort of connected back to, like, himself.
Yes.
Because when Troy's, like, you know, show confidence in them, and Geordie's like, yeah, like how Picard shows confidence in me, you know, that kind of thing. And then later on, when he's talking to them, when he's like, now just stay focused.
Yeah, the pep talk.
Yeah, the pep talk. And he's like, you earned the right to sit in those chairs. He's like, he's talking to himself in that moment.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
I actually wrote in my notes that I want to be on Geordie's team.
I think the major issue is that this episode, in the end, I didn't notice this when I was going through it, but it has 3 plots. They're not badly paced plots. I don't think there's any point where the episode is like really dragging itself all that badly.
Yeah, I thought they divided up the plots pretty well.
Yeah, it's just that 2 of the plots are not particularly interesting.
Yeah. I did to give them credit, I did like that all 3 plots connected pretty seamlessly.
Yes, that's very true. It's a well-crafted series of events. It's a well-crafted story. It's just that, you know, some of that story just is not very interesting.
Yeah, structurally, it's a good episode, but the content is not as good as it could have been.
No. And I think maybe if dropping one of those separate plots that they had in favor of exploring something more might have been an option. But the problem with that is you probably would have needed more dialogue on the planet with the salesman, which I don't think anybody wanted.
Yeah, but I definitely think you could have dropped the Picard Crusher thing.
Yes, I agree.
Sure.
Yeah, and you could have had maybe, like, because Data jumps down that hole,
Yep.
you know. Oh, dude, you could have had Data and Tasha do stuff. You could have had them fall down the hole.
Oh, God. Oh, no.
Yeah, Data would have easily survived, and Tasha maybe would have gotten hurt or whatever, and then they could have dealt with the salesman. And also the conflict, like, it's kind of anticlimactic how it resolves, in my opinion.
Yes, I agree. Because they just kind of turn it off, and then it's like, great, problem solved. Oh, except then the one up in orbit isn't turned off too, because no reason.
It's still going.
Yeah. And I also feel like they should have figured out to just pretend to buy it earlier.
But that would be silly.
Yeah. Because the salesman says, like, Picard asks to turn the demonstration off, and he's like, oh, why would I turn it off? You haven't seen everything it can do yet.
It's almost like one of those episodes where they do a story around, oh, you have to, like, out-logic the computer, and it kind of follows that same methodology here. Not exactly, obviously. It's like a take on it, but it is still the same general idea.
Yeah, definitely. But I feel like they should have... They kind of do it halfway. It's like they almost try to do a thing where it's like, oh, we have to out-logic the computer, but then also they also don't get into it that much. Like there isn't enough back and forth of like trying to outwit it.
Yeah, there's just a sudden realization and problem solved.
Yeah, they just scream at him to shut it off. Like if they were gonna do that, it should have been more back and forth, like more trying clever things to outwit it and that kind of thing. Or they should have just immediately been like, we buy it. We don't need any more demonstration.
Give us the gun. We want it.
Yeah.
We'll pay double.
I don't mind, like, the salesman. I actually don't hate that actor, but
No, neither do I.
I really hated that character so much.
Yeah. I mean, it's the sneering, like, grin.
I honestly don't know what it is, because, like, rewatching it, I wasn't as annoyed, but it obviously left, like, an incredible impression on me, because I always skip this episode, because I just hate that character so much.
It could be that, like, he's so definitive in the fact that he's supposed to be kind of like that, you know, annoying, pushy salesman.
Yeah.
That attitude gets kind of projected onto him, even though he isn't really that prominent in it. But he does stand out a lot in it because he's such a definitive character in it.
Yeah. And I always forget about the Geordie stuff.
Yes, me too.
I always forget that that's in this episode.
Captain Geordie and Ensign one-shot extra.
Yeah. Ensign Zoo. I'm like, why is this rando getting so many lines?
Yeah, they could have given that to an actual other character and didn't. They could have given it to
Worf.
Wesley and they didn't.
Yeah.
Worf was there. Worf got to say nothing.
Yeah, Worf was right there.
I don't know if anyone noticed, but there's a line that Riker had earlier where he's talking about how he took the job on the Enterprise as opposed to the other one. But he describes taking the job on the Enterprise as a tour. And they do the same thing in the previous episode. And I'm just like, there's a lot more references to the fact that this is just a regular military than there is in TOS.
Yeah.
And that there will be going forward in TNG, because they kind of backtrack on a lot of that stuff going forward, I find.
Yeah, because the way it's portrayed in Star Trek, like, Starfleet is weird. It's like, it's not supposed to be a military, but it acts and functions as one.
Yes.
So it is de facto a military, but it's not, like, it's just supposed to be like the space faring arm of the Federation. I guess. I'm not clear on what Starfleet is supposed to be.
I don't think they're ever clear about it.
Yeah.
But also, it's important to keep in mind that, like, this is very early on in TNG and in defining the universe, so they're probably not entirely clear on it either. It's nebulous because we haven't really explored it yet.
Yeah, because Starfleet does a lot of different things.
Yeah.
So, like, they explore, they do science missions. That's all I can think of.
They negotiate treaties, they maintain borders, they maintain...
Yeah, they have ambassadors, and...
Yeah,
They
have
terraform
ambassadors,
a planet.
Yeah.
They terraform planets, that's true.
And
I think that's the Federation.
colonize.
Those weren't Starfleet officers.
Yeah,
right.
they said Starfleet did the inspection of the planet.
Yeah.
Oh, I forget that those are two different things, honestly.
Yeah, that's why Starfleet is an arm of the Federation.
Right.
And it has many arms.
Yeah, and that's exactly what this discussion is. It's like, for all intents and purposes, Starfleet is the Federation's military, but it doesn't fully act like a military, because it does stuff that, like, the military doesn't really do. It's
Yes.
like,
Diplomacy a little bit, too.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of like,
It's almost like their entire public relations arm.
yeah, it's like diplomats, NASA, and the military all rolled into one.
Diplanasa military. Does that work? I don't know.
Does what work?
What I just said.
Oh, I didn't hear what you just said.
Oh, Diplanasa military.
Oh,
Boy. No.
no.
Well, stay awake. That's an order.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, conclusion, it's like I didn't hate this episode as much as I remember hating it.
No, same.
Because there was definitely, like, more to latch onto than I remembered. It's nice that we're getting more character stuff, even though, like, not all of it's perfect.
Maybe we're just so, like, marred by what TNG is in the first season that we're at the point where we're just like, yeah, we've accepted it. We can keep going because it's not completely god-awful, but it really is compared to the stuff we get later.
Yeah, but Dory doesn't... She hasn't had experience with what comes later, and even she...
Oh, yeah, I'm aware. I mean, for you and I.
Yeah. This episode, it just... I'm not mad, but I'm disappointed.
Oh, Dory. Ooh. It's okay. The next one will be back to our regular stupid plots.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, does anyone have any, like, favorite moments from this episode?
Several.
Yeah.
Definitely several. Definitely. Who sent you here to look for me? Your mother.
Yeah, I like the next bit when he's like, what's the name of your ship? It's the USS Lollipop.
So when's the next spin-off? USS Lollipop?
Yeah.
Star Trek Lollipop?
Star Trek Lollipop.
I also really liked between Crusher and Picard when he's like readjusting her leg and he's like, "This is gonna hurt," and she's like, "I've heard that before."
I actually like the line of that, like, Riker Captain Rice exchange. That it's like right after the line, Maggie, that I think you said. It's Rice goes, "What's the armament on the lollipop?"
Oh, yeah.
It's like to see a lollipop armed, that would be incredible.
Yeah.
I love, at the beginning there's a line where Troy, when they first arrive at the planet, and Troy goes, "What happened to all the people?" And then Worf goes, "War." Data goes, "Disease." And then Geordie goes, "A dissatisfied customer."
See what I mean about one-liners? Geordie's earned them.
Yeah. I don't remember any, like, specific lines, but I loved any of Geordie's comebacks to Logan.
Yeah, he had several. Are you saying you didn't love the name of the instrument, the Echo Papa 607?
What?
That was the name of the thing they were fighting. It was called Echo Papa 607.
Oh, right.
Echo
yeah.
Papa Series 607.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, Dory, I thought for sure you were going to mention when Riker first meets...
Oh my god, I forgot about
Yeah.
that. His leg up on the thing.
Yeah.
I forgot. Yeah. I love Riker needs to lean on something at all fucking times.
Lean
He
on
does
me.
that so many times in this episode. yeah, when he sees Rice, I was like, okay, why he puts his leg up, and I was like, okay, calm down, buddy. And then he like leans on like another tree. He keeps putting his leg up. I'm like, it almost feels like a show of dominance, but like, why? Who are you trying to like? This
It's
is
to show you where that crotch is.
Yeah.
You've got to know.
Yeah,
it's important.
I did love that. I do love what he just like leans on stuff.
Yeah.
Riker has the weirdest approach to like
Anything.
stuff sometimes.
The Riker lean.
He
To
just
sitting, to leaning.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, him climbing over the chair. Just he makes these decisions, and I'm like, why? I mean, I'm not gonna say no, but why? Like, I'm not gonna complain, but just
Wow.
it doesn't make sense. But I do love that.
All right, unless anyone has anything else, let's get into predictions.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So the next episode is called
Symbiosis.
Yes, it's called Symbiosis. Symbiosis.
Okay.
And your tidbit is that we get more plagues and a drug PSA.
More plagues.
Yeah. More
And a
plagues.
drug.
Yeah, more plague stuff in this episode.
Why does this show love viruses? Like, I would say read the room. Actually, I think I have said that on this podcast
You
already.
have.
Read the room, but like, I just like read the future. Like, Jesus. I mean, to be fair, they didn't know in 1988 that we would get a pandemic.
Yeah.
Oh, they knew.
At the exact time we decided to do a podcast.
Well, I think this is like well into the AIDS epidemic.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Oh boy, oh boy. Okay. Oh god, I don't. My guesses are bad. Although, okay, last episode's guess, right after I made my prediction, I actually sent before even like moving on to this episode, I actually messaged Jeff and Maggie, and I was like, actually, I wish I said this on the podcast, but I have a new prediction that he's selling weapons. But I think I said drugs.
Yeah.
But I was like, he's selling weapons because I forgot the word arsenal. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, weapons. But I was like, too late. So then watching the episodes, I was like, I mean, still selling something.
Yeah.
Didn't go on. I didn't really go on the ship. I don't know. I was wrong. Okay. So for the next episode, so symbiosis, and then more plagues.
And a drug PSA.
And a drug PSA. Oh, God. This does feel very 80s, just with the drug PSA.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Okay, so another one, just pulling it out of nowhere. Okay, so maybe there's a drug that somehow it gets mixed in with something or whatever, and the drug is the reason for a virus or plague, and it's like the PSA part is like, maybe if you didn't take this drug, maybe we wouldn't have that virus. Yeah, okay, so a drug accidentally turns out to cause a virus that, or no, okay, I take it back. Okay, somebody's on a drug and they accidentally like leave us some kind of sample or a vial of something they're working on, and it ends up being part of like an antidote for a virus, but they need for the antidote, they take some of like the virus to put in there, and then it just backfires and then accidentally spreads a plague while somebody's on drugs. So it's like, don't be on drugs or else you'll start a pandemic. Yeah, okay, so my very poor that's my prediction.
All right. So if you want to see if Dory's right, watch along with us and join us next time on Fully Functional, a TNG podcast.
Goodbye.